So, welcome everybody to this town hall, the Hunter Mill District Town Hall. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Walter Alcorn. I'm your Hunter Mill District Supervisor. So thank you all for being here. We did, before the town hall, when we put out the announcement, we did invite people to suggest questions or to submit them ahead of time. We got a few, so what I'm going to do is just make just a couple of very brief remarks, and then what I'm going to do is go through the questions and provide some answers to those, and then we'll open it up to anybody else who has questions from the audience. So this is mostly going to be a Q&A activity. I promise not to bore you. This is the only slide that you'll see all night long, I promise. A couple of announcements. So we are going into the budget season. This happens every year in Fairfax County. We operate on a fiscal year starting July 1st. And we do have a couple of town halls that are specific to the budget, okay? So the first one is in person on Wednesday, March 12th. They'll be here in this room. So if you have budget concerns, budget issues, feel free to show up then. It's 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Again, that's Wednesday, March 12th. There will also be another budget town hall for Hunter Mill. This one's virtual, and it's going to be March 19th. That's also a Wednesday, 7 to 8:30 p.m. And watch in my newsletter or on the Hunter Mill District webpage for more information about how to participate in that. So, and it also will be streamed live on my Facebook page, Supervisor Walter Alcorn. And then one other public meeting I just wanted to let you know about is we do have this part of Hunter Mill District is the Reston Police District, and there is a Citizens Advisory Committee. I'm looking at John Pinkman, who's Vice Chair of the Reston Police District, CAC. They will be meeting here in this room February 26th at 7 p.m. Basically, it's the fourth Wednesday of every month. Is that right, John? Yeah, fourth Wednesday of every month, recurring meeting. Sometimes it's here, it does move around every once in a while. So take a look at the police department's webpage for Citizens Advisory Committees to get more information about that, or just call my office. Okay, so that's it on the announcements. I do just want to start with, it's not really breaking news, but I know it's news that I've heard from a lot of you about. The casino bill is still alive. It is through the Senate. It was sponsored by the Senate Majority Leader. It, however, is, I think we all think, going to have a much tougher time in the House of Delegates. So I do want to thank my state senator, I'm in Reston, Jennifer Boysko, all the work she did. Senator Saddam Salim also worked very closely with her. Senator Adam Evan, Representative Barbara Favola. So there was a lot of good work, but it did pass 24 to 16, I believe was the final vote in the Senate. So the next stop will be the Gaming Subcommittee in the House of Delegates. And I believe it's General Laws Committee, and that is chaired by David Bulova, is the chairman of the overall committee. Paul Krizak is the chair of the Gaming Subcommittee. They both live in Fairfax County, and I think they both are concerned about the legislation. So let's see, for those of you that have been working on this, thank you for everything everybody's done. But I think it's really important to follow up with our members of the General Assembly if you care about this. And I do want to give a shout out to Delegate Karen Keys-Gamarra, has been great. She's really made very clear her concerns. She put out a really good newsletter the other day on that. Irene Shin has been very active. Holly Siebold put something out yesterday saying she was voting no against it. So I think we're going to be okay in the House of Delegates on this issue, but you never know until, well, I don't know. You just never know. That is it in terms of announcements. So what I'd like to do at this point is, I do have several questions, and I'll go through them pretty quickly. I'll read the question, and then I will provide my response. And then if folks afterwards, after we get through all these questions, and it looks like I've got 3 other questions that were included here. So I haven't even read those, so we'll just have some fun later, and I'll read those on the fly and answer those. The first question from Reverend Beth Goss: what is the Fairfax County Police Department's posture in being asked by the federal government to enforce immigration actions? I hope that the Board of Supervisors is closely guarding the independence of Fairfax County on any such actions. The shorter answer is we are not enforcing federal regulations in Fairfax County. We do have a trust policy that was put into place in 2021. It's been in place, I guess, for 4 years now. We continue to be the safest jurisdiction of our size in the country. And here in the Reston Police District, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the stats I saw showed that we're the 3rd safest of 8, which is pretty good. I want to see us maybe get a little better on that. But the point is, we do have a trust policy. We enforce local state laws here in Fairfax County. We have a local police department, and that is our focus in keeping our local communities safe. And we want to make sure that our local residents are okay and they can trust our local law enforcement to report crimes and, frankly, to talk with our police officers. That's very, very important. I know some people disagree with that very much. That's one of the hottest issues across the country. And I know the federal government's policy has changed, but Fairfax County's policy has not. So anyway, that's my answer there. Next question from Sean. Thank you. I saw Sean somewhere. Hi, Sean. Thank you. Okay, so first question, meals tax. Will you oppose the meals tax proposal? If you are in favor of a Fairfax County meals tax, please explain your rationale. Does the county staff's analysis of the impact on county residents make sense? And how has that data been reviewed and verified? Okay, so we are looking at a meals tax as part of the overall budget this year. Fairfax County does have authority to impose a meals tax. And I am interested in the meals tax, and I'll skip right to the end. I probably will support the meals tax for 2 reasons. One, our real estate tax burden is too high. We over-rely in Fairfax County, and it's not just us, but definitely in Fairfax County, we rely way too much on real estate taxes to fund local government, to fund our schools, to fund all the things, police, fire, libraries, all the things that we do locally. So whenever we can find another tax revenue, particularly one that's discretionary, then, I'm gonna look at it really hard, and in many cases, I am gonna support that. The other thing that I'm hearing, and we won't know this until the county executive comes out with his budget on February 18th, is this is gonna be a tight budget year. We're already in a situation where the school budget has come out, and frankly, the school budget had an increase of over $260 million over the previous year. And I'll be very frank, we're gonna struggle to get close to that. We're just not gonna be able to fund, that full amount. So we're in a little bit of a pinch in terms of revenues and also what we're being asked to spend money on. So I am looking favorably on the meals tax, but as I said last summer, I think, or fall when it came up, I want to look at it in the context of the overall budget and make sure it makes sense. So, all right, we'll go ahead, I'll break the ice.
If we do the meals tax, we're gonna reduce the personal property, the real estate tax.
We would have to I want us to find a way to reduce the burden on the real estate tax if we're gonna do the meals tax.
Otherwise, it's just another tax.
Well, and I'll give you an example. Right now, we have dedicated funding for housing, affordable housing, coming off the real estate tax. That might be an excellent candidate to fund through a meals tax. So that's the kind of thing we're going to be looking at. But again, not sure what the county executive is going to put out there, but we'll see. So thank you, Sean, for that question. Number 2, no casino. Do you support Governor Youngkin's call for a gaming commission to oversee gaming in the Commonwealth? Would you advocate that the Board of Supervisors indicate their support for such a proposal? I do support, I like the idea of a gaming commission. Delegate Krizak has put that out, and you're right, the governor basically said yes to a gaming commission, no to a casino promoted by private interests, I think was the way he phrased it in the, and I agree with the governor there on both of it. I don't think the Fairfax County Board would take a position on that because we're not really in the gambling business. This is something that's regulated at the state level, and as long as, frankly, we don't have a casino in Fairfax County, I'm inclined to let the state folks, figure out whether a gaming commission makes the most sense. But personally, I think it probably does. Delegate Krizak has really championed this, and I kind of like the way he thinks on these issues. So. Efficiency review. The county continues to face budgetary challenges. Would you advocate for a task force to review county and school board operations for efficiencies to mitigate the continued need for tax increases? The recent negotiated teacher pay packages appears to be wish lists that cannot be met. It is also unlikely that the Commonwealth would meet the requested increases that are being requested. When, if not now, is the time to seriously review county finances? Honestly, I'd be fine with that. I think, we have had various types of committees, usually citizen review committees, maybe, some experts. It's been done in different ways over the years, but I would be fine with doing something like that. I don't have support of a majority of my colleagues on the Board of Supervisors, but I actually do think that idea is a good idea.
You don't call it Doge.
Pardon?
You don't call it Doge.
No, I will not. We will not call it Doge. That would not get my vote. Yes.
Yeah, I do want to put a highlight on that because, okay, I had my kids in public school and I would go in all the time volunteer. In first grade, there were computers in the classroom, there was a computer lab as well as laptops. That's a huge waste of money. New desks, new chairs, everything came in, there was nothing wrong with the old ones. And then, so I moved my kids to a private school that was getting a better job done for $5,000 a student less. And every year, people are empathetic, they see that education, we need more money, we get better teacher salary. But that's not what's going on in these classrooms, so I highly recommend something like this. Because people do want to empathetically support our educational system and think it needs it, but we can do a lot more in those schools with a lot less money going into them, and there goes our real estate tax down again. It is a huge waste of money what's going on in those classrooms when you're in first grade and you have access to 3 computers.
No, I appreciate that. Come to my budget town hall. There's nobody, I think, from the school system here today, at least no school board member. There will be at my budget town hall. I actually rescheduled my budget town hall to make sure that we could have school board representation. Those are, again, the 12th and the 19th.
People vote thinking that they know what's going on, but they really don't. When you get in there, you see that, and it's not just the school programs in the county, there's a lot. I've got people in all the parks and across the street from me going in, they're tearing down the trees around creeks, putting in rocks and all this stuff. The amount of money, time, and destruction to the forest is a huge waste of our money.
So,
this stuff has to be started.
so I will add one thing about education funding, just FYI, and there was a study at the state level under something called JLARC, the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Committee, This is sort of their GAO, I mean, at the state level. They're nonpartisan. They do, just a straight analysis. A couple of years ago, they studied state support for education. And what they found is that we in Virginia, we're actually way below the national average in terms of how much money the state pays for education. This translates directly into higher real estate taxes at the local level because we basically pick up the slack. So, it's an easy thing for me to say because I don't set the state tax rate, but the reality is we're behind Kentucky and West Virginia in terms of how much our state puts into education. So hopefully that's going to change over time. I realize that doesn't change overnight, but that is something everyone should be aware of. While we're looking at local expenditures, we also need to make sure we're looking at state revenues coming into our school system.
And maybe Jeff McKay's letter would say
Yes. Chairman McKay has been very vocal on that, very much so, on the casino bill too. Yes. So, transportation. The county staff is proposing changes to Wheelie Avenue between Sunrise Valley and Sunset Hills. These changes apparently reduce driving lanes despite the increase in traffic and development in this area. These proposed changes seem detrimental and short-sighted given the volume of traffic in the area. What is your position on those proposed changes, and would you give direction to county staff to revise their myopic approach? Okay, so I was going to say, I think some of you in this room may have actually participated in the Wheelie Avenue public meetings where this was reviewed. Frankly, a couple things going on. If you step back and you think about Wheelie Avenue as it goes over the toll road, it's basically an interstate crossing an interstate. There is really more capacity in those lanes right now, and they're wider lanes than they really would need to be. And there is a study that's been done, but it still has to go through a VDOT approval process that would narrow the lanes, and frankly, it might drop a lane or two, and I know Griffin knows this, and it would create room on the VDOT right-of-way for a trail on either side, as well as more pedestrian walkways along both sides, actually, of the road. So, and yet the right-of-way would still be there if and ever when the traffic came back and the roadway was needed again. Remind everybody that the Soapstone connector is going forward. Now seems like it's taken forever, but there is a road that's going to be built and construction will start in, I believe, Shamli, 2 years, 3 years? Yes, I believe 2 or 3 years, okay. Okay, and it's at 70% design, I believe right now, the project is. So, but that's gonna open up a new way to get across the toll road. And that's why it's called the Soapstone connector, basically go from where Soapstone is across the toll road. So that will take away 14 years before it's finished. Okay, so it's fully funded. And it's going to provide additional capacity. There's also another project for crossing the toll road that actually will be, it's not fully funded, it's still got a number of issues that would have to be worked out, but it's the town center underpass. So that's yet another crossing. What we're trying to do is to make sure that the communities that are emerging right around our metro stations are safe for everybody who's there. Safe for drivers, but also safe for people that are walking, safe for people that are on bicycles. So it needs to be a place that's safe for everybody. And that's really driven a lot of the discussion. Wheelie really through there should probably look more like a boulevard than a freeway. So that was the vision that came out of these community meetings, and it was pretty close to consensus, I think. There were a few people, what really got people angry, and this is going away, is, well, there was gonna be a roundabout on Sunrise Valley and Wheelie, and I warned county staff, I'm like, oh, that's not gonna go over well. And sure enough, the first 6 questions were like, why is there a roundabout there? That doesn't make sense. So, it's not final. It's not final, but that's a direction that I think makes sense for everybody. Questions on that?
But if you drive on Wheelie, it doesn't make sense, because what really needs, you can narrow anything you want over the toll road, but people are still gonna be going to the metro stop, and that's what's driving a lot more traffic. What they need to do is take out some of the turns in Wheelie and make it a safer road, not eliminate the turns. They've already eliminated going north, one lane, so people can make a left turn, and that creates even more of a traffic problem. And then you have buses there that stop, that clog up the right lane. You need to expand Wheelie or straighten it out, not take a lane away.
Well, there'll be an opportunity to comment more. I appreciate that. This actually is the result of a traffic study that was done after the Phase 2 Silver Line opened. And for those of you that drive around there very much, you probably noticed the amount of traffic going in and out of that garage plummeted. So we actually had a lot less traffic coming down Wheelie from Sterling and that area. Those folks are going somewhere else to park now to get on the metro. So it did lighten up quite a bit, but over time, it is gonna come back. I agree, there's gonna be traffic there. There's no doubt about that. And the trick is to figure out how to actually make sure the traffic flows, but doesn't flow in a way that endangers the people that actually are living and working there. Kirpa, did you?
Okay, and also, I want to remind everybody that there is a crime crisis going on. At a national level, we have been withdrawn from the Paris Agreement. It really does come down to state and local, and Fairfax County has an opportunity here to a mode shift away from cars and towards bicycles and taking the bus and walking and taking the metro. Like, that is desirable, and yes, driving should be discouraged, the better to encourage the other things. So yes.
I don't drive a bicycle these days.
So we have a difference of opinion on those things. That's okay. One more question, and then I'm going to keep going.
It's related to
Please.
that. I do understand the need for bicycling, and we have a big bicycle exercise community in Reston, but I still don't understand the rationale outside of South Lakes High School on South Lakes Drive, where it's a highly congested area, taking that down, narrowing it down there to just the 2 lanes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it backs up, does it? I mean, I don't think it is. Yeah. I mean,
For a dismissal and, my son's been out of school 2 years now, but it was definitely congested in the morning and the afternoon during, because there's so many high schoolers that drive.
yeah, and happy to ask VDOT about that. I mean, the whole point of all of those changes was, and that's why Wheelie, by the way, further up, only went to 1 lane going northbound. Because southbound, it probably would back up if you reduced it to 1 lane. So, we can ask VDOT. All right, one more question, and then I gotta keep going.
I'm so sorry. This is the first I've heard about the Wheelie Avenue issue. But there's another, on the safety side, bicyclists, pedestrians, and automobiles are all safer when they're not all in one location. The other concern there at Wheelie Avenue is that that is where the fire station is, right on the other side of Sunset Terrace. So you also have to consider that emergency vehicles need to get through that tiny piece of street. And putting pedestrians and bicyclists on either side of that just is too much of a safety risk, and I don't think it should be risked.
All right, thank you. Yeah, actually, one other announcement I should have made, I think everybody knows this. Speaking of safety and pedestrians there, the Wheelie Bridge, the WNOD bridge over the Wheelie is finally open. So, all right, thank you everybody who helped out with that. Couple, yes, Janet Howell as well. Thank you. Thank you, Janet. She's not She's still around. She's, I didn't mean that. So, next question from Mr. Romero. What is or are the objective measures by which the One Fairfax Trust policy is deemed successful or not? And how has it performed against those measures since inception? So I did talk about the trust policy a little bit earlier. As far as I know, there are no metrics specifically on that, but as I said, we remain the safest jurisdiction of our size in the United States. So I think we're doing okay with that. Second one, what changes will be made by the Fairfax County DEI programs? And by the way, Fairfax County, we have a Department of Economic Initiatives. But I think this means, I think what he means is diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is, yeah, anyway. Programs for 2025, given the new presidential administration and executive orders. Will the Chief Equity Officer organization, with 56 authorized positions totaling $5.76 million in FCPS, be redirected? Okay, so let me just answer the first one first. Basically, in terms of our One Fairfax policy, in terms of our diversity, equity, inclusion policy in Fairfax County, no change. We're not changing. There's the FCPS question, and honestly, I don't know the answer to that. Shamali, do you?
I just have one comment. Some of those positions are actually positions for special ed teachers. So those are all included in that, the number of teaching staff that are under that umbrella that you have. Yes, there are some other positions in there that are specifically DEI, but all of the special ed teachers fall under that. So it sounds like a large number, but if you include all the special ed teachers across all of Fairfax County, that's.
So that's a good question for one of the budget town halls too.
Yeah.
So if anybody, there will be somebody from the school system here to answer that. Okay. All right, good. This is exciting. I'm just reading these questions. Okay, Reed, transforming residential waste project. What does this mean for HOAs in Reston and elsewhere? That is a great question. So we are in the process in Fairfax County of coming up with a more, I would say, organized system for trash and recycling collection. So I think for many of you that live in single-family detached neighborhoods, you probably know it's kind of a Wild West for a lot of folks. You know, you kind of have a choice between a couple of haulers, trash providers, but then again, you also see those trucks from different companies coming across your street, maybe on different days, you know, maybe it's a little weird. So we're in the process of looking to see, can we actually, we have the authority from the Commonwealth to do this, although it's a limited authority and it takes 5 years of discussion and planning before it become real. Literally, it's a 5-year process. But we are looking at developing zones in Fairfax County where the county would hire the hauler and then the county would bill residents basically through just a real estate tax bill. So one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is how this could be structured so that it is, first of all, better for everybody, so it could reduce everybody's costs. Because right now it is a little bit chaotic. It's not really good for anybody to have multiple trash trucks from different companies, you know, going down the same neighborhood streets. But one of the things I've raised at the Board of Supervisors is we can't just look at the average cost across all residents, because some of us actually live in townhome communities, and guess what? We pay a lower rate because it's actually a lot easier for trash trucks to come in and recycling trucks to come in and pick up in communities like mine than it is for Great Falls, for example. So, yes, and by the way, we have limited at this point. We're just looking at residential communities, but not high-rise communities. So we're, so we're looking at basically single-family homes and townhomes. Okay, so John.
So, I'm glad the county started working on this. I'm the president of my cluster. 2 years ago, we got a 1/3 increase in our charge with about 30 days notice. And that, we already adopted our budget, so that was a little. But one of the things that the paper that I read ignored the fact that we're already part of a small tax district. The small tax districts under the state code can do solid waste collection. And it would make more sense for the people who live in small tax district number 5 to fund this action through small tax district number 5 instead of having yet another tax, which is what the county staff is talking about. And so, the small district number 5 covers not just the residential, but also commercial. It would make more sense for us who live in Reston to have that function funded through the nickel a year that we already pay on our tax rate, rather than have yet another bureaucracy with another tax that gets administered down at the Taj Mahal. And so I would hope that we could be a pilot project to have it actually run through small district tax district number 5 without all the hoopty-loops that a countywide system would require.
So John, thank you for making that suggestion. We are looking at different ways that zones could be set up. I mean, it's possible, maybe it could be small tax district number 5 could be one zone. But frankly, there are other things that I've been talking with staff about that we might need to look at. For example, maybe we need different rates for single-family detached and townhome communities. Maybe they're different rates. Maybe there's another way that the rates get changed. Maybe there's, currently, by the way, there's a process, if you want to petition with your neighbors to get into the county collection system, which by the way only services about 90% of all residents in Fairfax County, it's very small. There is a petition process for doing that. So maybe under this new system, there is the inverse. Maybe there's a petition process to get out of it. I don't know. So these are all things that are on the table, and I would encourage folks to search the county website to read up on it. And frankly, before we go too far into this process, I want to make sure it makes sense for everybody. And I will say one thing, and John, I agree, I think we do need a more organized system. But one of the main reasons we need to do that is, I guess this is not news, but our system for the way we produce trash and recycling and composting is changing. So, the recycling markets are changing, and we're just starting to get into composting. So having a more organized system that, frankly, will allow for, more adjustment as need be, I think is really important right now, because it is this is one of our environmental goals, is to reduce the amount of waste that we generate.
Have you thought about doing anything like programs encouraging residents to compost in their own property and to do things such as, to decrease their trash on their own?
Yes.
Maybe they compost and then they grow a few flowers there, and bees and all that stuff, but just kind of do some kind of more to get rid of a lot of this trash like that.
Yes.
I'll burn paper in boxes and stuff and keep it out of there, and I take my own trash to the dump too, so I would like to opt out of a tax on.
Yeah, and certainly that is something we encourage. We do encourage people to set up their own composting systems as you can. One of the other things that's being discussed is maybe the rates are different based on the size of the trash container you use. So if you have a bigger trash container, you pay a little more. If you have a smaller trash container, you pay a little less. So those are, yes.
Are you looking at how other municipalities, similar to our size, deal with this?
Yes, we are, and it's all over the map. This is one of those things that there's such an interesting range of ways that communities do this. Some communities do it all themselves. You know, they have local government. Yeah, Town of Herndon, Town of Vienna does that. We've been more on the side of I would say the Wild West. But I think we're getting to the point, well, we maybe need to be a little more, but definitely, and as folks have suggestions or their models, maybe you've lived in another community that worked pretty well, let us know, let me know, because this is a formative time right now.
Are you looking into curbside pickup composting so that I do not have the wherewithal to actually compost, but I'm fortunate to live really close to Mom's Organic Market and you just drop off your compostable stuff there. And then I know that it's an option at farmers markets, but I know that Arlington and the city of Fairfax have curbside.
Yes, that is absolutely one thing that we are looking at. It does require different equipment than what our trash fleets have right now, but you know, we did that with recycling too. So yeah, that is definitely something we're looking at. John?
I suppose a lot of people in the room probably know, but there is a composting service at the Reston Farmers Market that runs from April to the end of November. And so you can bring your bucket down and just dump it in and make it go through it. I mean, you've also got the community gardens in Reston for the composting. I guess it's 6 or 8 gardens. We're in better shape than a lot of us.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for plugging that.
Fairfax County has great resources on their website. If you look up Fairfax County Zero Waste, you can learn a lot about county's plans. They're really trying to become a leader.
Yeah, we are. We've been a little bit of a laggard. Now we're trying to become a leader. Yes.
So if this is a 5-year process, has it begun, or is there an event that happens to start the clock?
It would be an event that would happen. It would basically be a regulatory, I think, an announcement that the county would make. And we're looking at starting the clock this spring, is my understanding. So, yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. And I'm really glad we're starting this conversation because it's not on a lot of people's radar. Okay. Oh, I like this one. Here we go. Reston National Golf Course development. Anything new happen? All right, that's a good question. The short answer is I don't think so. But the reality is, and this is true for Reston National, it's true for Hidden Creek, there are property owners of both of those properties that pay too much to operate them profitably as a golf course. So neither property owner has given up. They have talked to me, and they continue to try to talk to me about different ways they might be able to develop their property. But it is in the comprehensive plan, both properties as golf courses. And I've made it clear, and my position has not changed since before I was even elected the first time. Until communities surrounding the golf course come to me and ask me to change the comprehensive plan, I'm not going to support a change to the comprehensive plan. And that has not happened. So. Okay, a casino question. Will a possible casino be something to other companies? Oh, a disincentive to other companies in Tysons. Yes, absolutely. That's one of my concerns. We have a very ambitious comprehensive plan for Tysons. I mean, I was just in a meeting this afternoon with some folks, Tysons Community Alliance, Virginia Department of Transportation, Fairfax County Department of Transportation, Supervisor Paulchek. And basically, we were talking about all the changes in Tysons over the last 15 years. And what basically the road network is like right now, how it's working, how it's not working in some cases. So Tysons is not dead. Tysons is in many places thriving. But what a lot of people forget is that the Tysons Comprehensive Plan, which was adopted 15 years ago, and Rob, I know you know this, it's a 3-generation plan. It's basically a vision for the next 60 years, and so now we'd say the next 45 years, roughly. What that means is there are places that we knew all along that were not going to be ready for redevelopment for the next few decades. And that's what's happening. So, but there are some people that are trying to basically say, well, you know, it's down in the dumps and, you know, there's a crisis. There's not. That's just not the case. And what I worry about, and this question I think is on that same line, what I worry about is once a casino goes into, say, a rail station, like right at the Spring Hill station, that becomes a dead zone for any major employer. There's not a major employer in the world that would locate near that casino. So I don't know why we would do that, to be honest. I mean, I feel strongly about that. Library. Let's see. So basically a question about the new library in Reston. Okay, it is being designed right now. We know where it's gonna go. It's actually gonna go right here on the other side of these woods. Thank you all who participated in the Reston Town Center North Task Force process. And now it's a matter of getting through the regulatory approvals and actually building it. It's also funded. So it's still gonna be a few years before the doors open. But just to give everybody a heads up, and this is something we're working with Reston Association on the design and the details. But there'll be a library over here, and it's going to look out onto a central green, a little over 3 acres, which will be like a small central park, where there'll be various activities, including a place for outdoor performances, that type of thing. It's actually a situation where the rehab center that used to be here, it's a very rare case these days. We're actually recreating green space. So it's not losing green space, it's actually recreating green space over there. So thank you. The old library will actually be torn down. So it's going to become part of the library property will be where a future Park Authority Recreation Center is going to go. It's designed for sort of the eastern half of that site, and then the other half of the park property, and also where the Embry Rucker shelter is now, will be a playing field. So, yeah, a playing field. Playing field, so a soccer field. Yeah, and again, for the folks that worked through the Reston Town Center North process, there was some really hard choices because, by the way, the new homeless shelter, the new Embry Rucker rebuilt shelter, will be right over here, kind of where the parking lot is and the woods that are right over here currently. So kind of across the street from the library is where the new Embry Rucker shelter will go. But, residents, representatives of the communities all around here, Edgewater, Oak Park, the Paramount, there were some really tough discussions, like the folks at Oak Park, they're like, gosh, what do we prefer, right next to our community, a homeless shelter or a lighted ball field? It's tough. I mean, these were tough discussions, but the group came together, and I'm very proud of that effort. So we are moving forward now. How are the residents of Cameron Crescent being included in the plans for redevelopment? Good question. So right now, Cornerstones and the Redevelopment and Housing Authority staff are reaching out and organizing meetings. They have a couple of community meetings that they're organizing for the residents to talk about the redevelopment and frankly how it will affect individuals and how that redevelopment will take place. So there's still, it's still early in the process. So, there's some, I have heard, my office has received numerous calls over the years from residents basically asking for this. There's some problems. That's a very old community right now, and there are issues that really compel a change here. So the project may be phased in such a way that people move from one building to another while the redevelopment's done. They may go to another place in the Reston area while the construction happens, but those are all things that, frankly, before I get up and say this is how it's going to be, that's why we wanted to have these consultations and meetings with members of the community, because they're going to be the ones directly affected. And then, that's it. So that's all the cards I got. So, yes, questions. Let's start. Roy.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having us. I'm Roy Baldwin, and I'm the mayor of the Vienna Town Council.
And Roy, I should have introduced you. You know, there's a protocol about recognizing elected officials. Roy Baldwin, Vienna Town Council. Thank you, Roy, for being here.
First of all,
Oh yeah, here. Yeah.
sorry, when I get in front of a group, I get stage fright. All right. I wanted to first of all thank you, and President John back there, president of your cluster. I'm glad to hear it. Anyway, I want to first of all thank you for taking the time out to travel literally the extra mile down Lawyers Road to Vienna so often. We see you at our events on a regular basis, and believe me, we really appreciate it. I want to thank you for your leadership on the No Casino movement, which is the most important issue to many of us in Vienna. I wanted to tell you that we have just come back from a trip down to Richmond, and we've spoken to a number of delegates who are not in Northern Virginia, and I think their attitude is basically, we have no skin in the game. What does your Board of Supervisors say?
Yes.
And I have to say that the attitude among a number of the delegates that we spoke to was, well, they don't have a resolution against it, so they must not mind it. So my question for you, I don't want to put you on the spot tonight, but I'd like to know in general terms, if there is a chance of getting a firm vote or decision, one way or another, in time to get it down to the House of Delegates before they vote.
Well, yeah. So there was a letter that Chairman McKay wrote last year, and then it was updated this year. And the letter does make clear that Fairfax County never asked for the casino. And also pointed out some other problems with the process. And it's even a slightly stronger letter this year, because it says Fairfax County would not ask for authority unless it seriously considered using that authority. So, I'll tell you why I have not made a motion at the board, and Supervisor Bierman and I have been way out in front on this, so we're totally aligned. But what I don't want to do is go to the board, make a motion for just a flat denial, and have that motion fail. Because that would be fatal. That would be fatal. So instead of doing that, we have a letter which makes clear we didn't ask for it. But the problem is, as you know, Roy, in Virginia we do not have campaign finance contribution limits. And so the amount of money that's been thrown around by the pro-casino folks it's kind of embarrassing. I mean, it really is. It's over $1.5 million that's been put into political campaigns. And in Richmond especially, money talks. And, I have hope that over time we will see that change. We will actually see campaign finance reform in Virginia. And we probably should all be working towards that, right? But in the meantime, let's just keep working to keep the casino out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Do you want to? Yeah. Let's hand the microphone around.
That's right. Thanks. Hi, I'm Sydney Johnson. I understood that, I attended the meeting that they had last year where this was discussed at the Board of Supervisors,
And the reason they don't want to have a resolution is that if the board of supervisors decides that they don't want to have a casino, they will then be cut out of the conversation. And no one will pay any attention to them anymore. That was the argument as I understood it. And that's why they said that. It doesn't mean that they don't, that they're secretly wanting a casino.
Right. Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I've had some very, very candid conversations with my colleagues, some of my colleagues anyway, about this issue. And it's true. There are people in Richmond that say, oh, they're not taking a strong stand because they secretly want it. But to be honest, I've yet to see any evidence of duplicity by my colleagues, truly. I have yet to pick up anything that actually suggests that there's been some, secret support going on that we don't know about.
Hi, my name is Adam Rubenstein. I live here in the Reston area since 2019. I wanted to bring up if it's possible to look at, and Arlington's already doing this. I know we've had a snowier winter than normal. We have more snow coming next week. After the last snowfall, big storm in January, it took weeks for the snow on the trails to finally melt and go away, the ice and everything. It's a bike commuter route, running route, walking, whatever. Is there any way to look at possibly, let's say Arlington does it currently in their section of W&D and their trails. The Fairfax County Parkway Trail, W&D, where, like I said, we're snow covered, ice covered for weeks after that storm. So we have more snow coming next week. So I'm not sure, I know we're in budget crisis in terms of, watching where we spend, but that's something we can look at, because like I said, it is a bike commuter route.
Yeah, it's a great point, Adam. Arlington does a much better job, I think because Arlington owns their own roads and trails. We do not. Most of our trails that at least run along roads, like the Fairfax County Parkway, are owned by VDOT. And the amount of clearing they do for trails and sidewalks, snow and ice, zero. Yeah, they just do not do that at all. So what it means is that associations like Reston Association step in and pick up a lot of the slack, but there are big holes in the network where, like you point out, there's no clearing, and it basically is just whenever the sun finally comes out and warms it up.
The Arlington does plow their section of the W&D, so that's Nova Parks, as you know. I'm not sure if that's at least one trail, possibly, which is maintained by the National Parks, not anything to do with VDOT.
Yeah, that's true. We'll look into it. Yeah,
Thank you.
Look into it. Oh, actually, hold on. Let's go to Arthur. We got a mic tether here.
Okay, thank you. I'm Arthur Purvis. I'm president of the Fairfax County Taxpayers Alliance. And my question is how many millions of dollars of new revenue do the supervisors need every year to pay for county and school raises and benefit rate hikes?
Well, it's a good question, and it depends in large part in how much raise we give to our county and school employees, respectively.
Mr. Supervisor, I'm always very nervous asking a question to which I don't know the answer.
Yes.
The answer is $300 million. That's what it's been for the last 3 years. If you even got the $600 million from the state, which you won't get, that would cover only 2 years of raises. And then you'd go back to raising real estate taxes 3 times faster than household income. The cause of high real estate taxes is not the underfunding by the state. It is the cost of raises and benefits. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Art.
We are happy to give raises.
I'll do a quick question on the casino, and then I'll give it to somebody and come back on Wamala.
Okay.
In the master plan implementation, as far as I know, a casino was not in the master plan. Therefore, if you're going to adopt a casino plan in Fairfax County, it's going to take, like the data centers, it might take 2 years of county comprehensive study.
Well, if lightning strikes, hell freezes over, and we actually are looking at a casino, I'll make sure it takes a lot more than 2 years.
And so logically, and I talked to Senator Saravel last year, I said, well, we don't need to just look at Tyson's. There are sites on I-95 in his area which should be looked at.
I don't disagree, Rob. Thank you, Rob.
Hi, Scott Peterson. Not far from here is Loudoun County. In Loudoun County, they have 199 data centers on the ground and 117 more in the pipeline. Nowhere on earth do they have this kind of challenge. Now, I understand the county needs money. I understand maybe that's why their restrictions and regulations on data centers weren't as strong as some of us would have liked. Okay. Have you started to see or heard of data center applications in Hunter Mill?
Good question. The short answer is we have 7 data centers, I believe, in Hunter Mill on the ground right now. I am not aware of any additional applications pending in Hunter Mill. And I will say, this is a tough one. And I was one of only 2 supervisors to vote against the recent zoning ordinance update for exactly the same reason that you said. I actually think we should only approve data centers by special exception. Because, yeah, I mean, and the argument against that was that we do have some heavy industrial zoning categories. So for those places, the argument was we should go ahead and make it by right. There were improvements to the zoning ordinance, I totally agree, but frankly, I worry about the by right provision. But so far, you know, so good, at least for Hunter Mill. But keep your ear to the ground and call my office, call me if you hear of anything.
Hi, sir. My name is Dino Stagos. I'm a registered professional engineer. And about the data centers, how many we have presently here?
In Hunter Mill, we have 7.
7?
7.
Because one that I see every day that I pass by in my home. And we don't afford to have data centers. I'm a registered engineer. I have a very vast experience and extensive experience in artificial intelligence, and I know what's going on in artificial intelligence. Presently, we don't need data centers because the artificial intelligence progress, that the models need to be smaller. Therefore, I believe that's a good idea to provide to the state that we don't need further data centers.
All right, well, thank you.
Especially in area that is between houses. I see that the data center is between houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is an example.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that was my other major concern, frankly, is the setback was not sufficient from residential as proposed at the time. Yeah, I hope you're right. I mean, I think, you know, Loudoun County, of that 117, I think you said, Scott, I believe those are all approved in the zoning. So they have a tremendous backlog, and the only thing that's really slowing it down now, because there's a really incredible speculative bubble right now, I consider, for data centers. The only thing that's slowing it down is electricity. That Dominion has a 6-year backlog, 6-year backlog for building new data centers because they just can't get the power lines and the substations built. So that's actually a weird bottleneck that is, I think, in many ways, you know, are keeping us from being overrun as well. Yes.
My name is Amy Marney, and my husband and I live in Tyson's Green, and that's right near. No, I have a question about this giant crane that we look at every night that blasts cute colors. but it's waiting, it's just waiting, it's salivating, waiting for that casino. Because it's also waiting, hold on, it's waiting for the exchange at Spring Hill Station.
Yes.
Which I have deep concerns about.
Yes.
That is a 525 unit low-income housing project, calling it a project. It backs up to our neighborhood, and it's cool, I get it. But there's also the Sheraton, which from what I understand is also gonna be efficiency, which is, I don't know if I'm gonna call it that. But those are small little rooms that they're converting into efficiencies. And I'm not sure if that's low income too. So to me, I think they want to have that casino set so that they can have workers at the ready, perhaps, I don't know. But I'm deeply concerned, I work for FCPS, and I'm a little worried about West Briar and Colvin Run, because I work at Coates, I think I've told you this before, and we have a 252 unit Ovation, which is amazing, but it has decimated our school. We're at 137% overcapacity. So my thing is, I'm worried about our schools. I'm worried about this building. If it goes up, it's going to be over twice the size of what I live with every day in my workplace. And I just don't know, are they waiting for the casino to get the thumbs up and then it's all going to go, or are we getting these regardless?
Okay, good questions. Let me unpack a couple of them. First of all, the 500, I think it's 506 units going into the exchange, was approved as market rate units before I got on the Board of Supervisors, but as part of the overall Tyson's transit-oriented development project in, I believe, 2017 or 2016, right? Yes. So basically, these high-rises, and they are high-rises, were approved back then. And it's consistent with the Tyson's Comprehensive Plan, which I talked about earlier. It's the 60-year plan, very ambitious. The Redevelopment and Housing Authority, basically with funds from Fairfax County, from, I think the state put a little money in. Amazon, yes, put money into it, basically purchased the property with the development rights and is putting in this community. Along with, we're going to get a community center, neighborhood and community services community center, not just for this building, but for the whole community.
Yeah.
And I very much support that project. I am very proud of the Exchange project. And I look forward to its construction. On the Sheraton was rezoned to allow for efficiencies. And by the way, when I talked to them, I'm like, oh, how much are you gonna charge? They were saying $2,000 a month for 430 square feet on average. 430 square feet per hour. Okay, that project was approved, but the California developer that was part of that backed out. So it is back on the drawing board.
Oh, let's demolish it.
I mean, honestly, you know who would love it demolished more than anybody are the transportation planners, because it's sitting right where Boone Boulevard is supposed to go. That's going to basically parallel Route 7. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Walter, that was supposed to be affordable housing. 2011 is not affordable housing.
No.
That was what we originally thought was going to go into the building. And casino people are saying, oh gee, there's going to be affordable housing for all our casino workers.
Yeah, the casino arguments are just horrible. I mean, they're just terrible. I mean, I don't buy any of that stuff at all. Basically, they're making stuff up too. I hate to say that. But
Thank you. My name is John Pinkman. I've been in Reston for longer than I want to remember, 46 years. Every time these conversations come up about public services and taxes, you know, we're spending this, we're spending too much of the here and there. Currently, our police force is 150 short. So if it takes a little longer to get to your house, you save tax money, didn't you? If the fire department couldn't get there as quickly because they had to respond to 2 different fires at both ends of their district. Well, we couldn't afford that other fire truck. The number one issue about teachers, from what I understand, and I think he can help me with this, is retention. And why are we losing teachers to Loudoun County? Well, we don't have to pay them as much. We don't have to give them benefits. And let's have them have 30, 40 people in the classroom. You know, there comes a time when you just got to pay. If you want to live here, you got to pay. And if you don't want to pay, there's lots of choices. But, you know, let's come to a reality. This is not 1970. We're not living in that economy. And, you know, we're losing things like, you know, with the co-presidents we have now, losing maybe the Department of Education and all that nonsense and chaos that's going down there. So, particularly people like you, people would be embarrassed to know what supervisors make. And how much time, and you know I know, how much time you devote to your job. You know, are we paying him too much? Are we paying him too much? No. Thank you.
All I'm going to say to that is, thank you, John, but all I'm going to say is, I love Reston.
Rustin loves you.
Thank you so much. I'm Jerry Poggi. I'm from the Vienna Gem of the Hunter Mill.
I love Vienna
for
too.
John Farrell.
Great restaurants.
So he's telling me it's not that way. As we speak tonight, my faith community is hosting probably 155 people who have nowhere else to shelter this evening. This is our 21st year of doing this interfaith shelter. Some of the people in there are new immigrants. All 4 of my grandparents were low-wage immigrants who came to this country in the turn of the century. I'm their issue, a PhD, married to a PhD, raising a... We know that $10.3 trillion comes into our nation because of immigrants. So I welcome your talk earlier about safety issue. Do as I'm going to do tonight, educating our population and our volunteers. Know your rights. This builds trust for how the system should work fairly for people who are immigrants. I'd also like to congratulate the board for having assigned to FCRHA the extended stay hotel that was moribund, which was just approved by the Planning Commission last week, to create more than 90 efficiency apartments that we hope will be converted to be actionable by the end of hypothermia sheltering, and to relieve the unconscionable burden of families with dependent children being stuffed into the Emery Rucker shelter, a design feature that was never intended. So I'm saying we could do better, and I think we must do better. I loved your idea about contemplating the meals tax and putting enough of a charge in that meals tax that we could fulfill the promise associated with our affordable housing strategy for the county, a penny for preservation and a penny for creation. And even at that, I would only ask, all of us contemplate what the Commonwealth of Massachusetts did in August. They passed an Affordable Homes Act in which their Commonwealth says, we don't have enough affordable homes, let's mortgage for the next multiple years. They're doing bond issues, $5.16 billion worth of bond issues, and nearly 50 major policy initiatives to open up the landscape for doing what all of us want for our own children. I can raise a daughter here in Fairfax, $19,000 per year for her for 12 years in high school, up through high school. Can't come back to live in the very neighborhoods where they are raised. So we've got to be opening ourselves up for reimagining what we could do better. But 21 years is enough for a faith community to do the good work. We do it joyfully. We are grateful for our guests, but it's not the solution to what we really need. Affordable homes for all should be on everybody's lips.
Well, Jerry, thank you very much. And I think Jerry did a good job sort of covering the continuum of housing needs. And I agree, and I think we need to make not only the commitment, but also be creative in the implementation of addressing each one of those parts of the continuum. So thank you, Jerry. There.
My name's Suzanne Moffett, and I live near the intersection of Wheelie and Center Harbor. And I don't know what it is with that intersection, but I see a number of cars running the red light there. And my son saw one just the other day, and I've warned him, be very careful in this intersection. You know, and maybe because it's not as high profile an intersection, I'm not sure. But so I called your office, and they said, call the Department of Transportation. And I called the Department of Transportation, and I asked about, you know, can I ask for a red light camera to be put there? Because that is a deterrent.
Yeah.
And I lived in a city before where we had them. And they told me that Fairfax County doesn't have red light cameras. They are a deterrent. Someone gets a warning, you know, before they come to the intersection that there's a red light camera, you know, and it shows up on your GPS. So, you know, why don't we have red light cameras for problematic intersections?
No, it's a great question. About 11 or 12 years ago, before I got on the board, we actually did have red light cameras in Fairfax County. The General Assembly had given us the authority to do that, and I believe it was 2013, 2012, something like that. So we basically, Fairfax County did a study. We hired a contractor to set up the red light cameras, and then within a year, the General Assembly took the authority away. And so we had to turn off all the red light cameras. The following year, or the year after, I'm not sure exactly when, the General Assembly flipped back again and said, okay, you can do red light cameras. But Fairfax County has not reinstituted. Frankly, it's a conversation I'm having with my fellow board members, because actually I honestly hadn't noticed Wheelie and Center Harbor. I'll tell you what I've noticed, Fairfax County Parkway, at a number of different places, coming out on the Parkway, you know, folks not even slowing down. I mean, just, you know, and like full 1, 2, 3 seconds after the light changes and they come through. So, you know, it's to the point, and I think many of us who are parents have been here, you know, that when we teach our kids to drive, you know, I don't care if that light's red. You look both ways before pulling out of the intersection. So, John?
Yeah, let me, and maybe Shanley can weigh in on this. This is more of a question to come to the CAC, Community Advisory Committee of Police, because you can talk to the major, and you can talk to the rest of the command. Now, I don't mean to open up a hornet's nest here, like, you know, not like everybody get in line, but there are measures that the local police can do to deter some of that action. You have that opportunity in this very room from time to time to talk. I'll give you a card and let you know.
So, yeah.
When we're trying to get an enforcement action, which we need all the time on Soapstone, because they come down that hill like a bat out of hell.
Right.
And we've had multiple fatalities with people coming from Shadowwood over to 7-Eleven. This commander will tell you, you know, I don't get him to assign traffic enforcement. That comes out of the main office that is now near the government center. So traffic division is an entirely different ball of wax.
Well, you you know, I have seen that change.
So it's a great idea to raise the issue at CAC. Ultimately, what's happening right now is, as a county, we're not moving forward yet on red light cameras. What we are doing is ramping up the number of speed cameras in school zones. So we are doing that. Yeah, I know. I mean, I think we're going to get back to the red light cameras, but we'll see. John.
I got a different kind of question. Lake Ann Community Center, which we love having over at Lake Ann. I'm hearing little stories that it's going to be moved over to the Crescent area. It's a site that's been picked out on the corner of the Crescent by Baron Cameron, and it will be moved out of Lake Ann. Is that correct?
Well, I have heard the Reston Community Center has been saying for the past several years that they intend to find another location for the community center at Lake Ann once the lease is over. And I believe it's 2036. Yeah, so it is coming. So whether they end up going there or somewhere else, it's not clear. But that's one of the...
Well, that might be part of your redevelopment of the Crescent.
Exactly. It could be, but that's part of, frankly, the discussion with the residents there, but it's also part of the scoping once we get to that point for what we would want to see as part of the Crescent redevelopment. So
okay.
it's possible.
So I shouldn't hold my breath.
Probably not. It's a long time. These things don't move.
So I just wanted to ask, you know, you talked about the library and then the homeless shelter and then a ball field going in. And I'm gonna go back to taxes. I'm paying $1,300 a month in taxes. That's just $700 away from what you think is too much for, you know, low-income housing. I've been in this county for 64 years. I've been in Vienna for 34, and I've contributed to building this county big time with my tax money. And to the point where it's going to drive me out of the county because of just the taxes. That's almost like a rent. So when I see things like, we got a library over there, what is wrong with that library? That we are going to knock it down, cause all that rubbish to be stored somewhere, all the exhaust in building it and the parts and that type of thing. Build another one somewhere else, cut down some more trees and move a shelter across the street when we got a shelter there. I mean, if we need the ballpark, would we just put it over there? But I'm concerned with Fairfax County's thought processes. You talk about a rec center going in over here. I've been in meetings with the Fairfax County Park Authority director, and she has said, we don't have the money to upgrade the ones that we have. Why is that even on the radar for being in need when we do need fire trucks or more police in this type of a thing? And when we go to the school system, it's not just about the teachers not getting enough money is why they're leaving. It's the romper room that is going on in these classrooms and the unbelievable nonsense. And I have been in these classrooms and watching it happen and had to pull my own kids out. So I really feel that Fairfax County needs to start looking at, are these things necessary? How much more money are we going to ask of the taxpayers? Because it is a runaway train every year, the need for more and more, and then saying we need to build and get more people in here to pay more taxes. Part of the reason why people are running lights is they can't sit in traffic anymore. They're losing their minds. It's one light after the next. We're creating a situation where it's becoming unlivable for people and they're getting aggravated, and that's why these things are happening. They're symptoms of the situation we've created. We're not meant to live on top of each other and pay these kind of taxes. So my question is, will the county at any point look at, are these things necessary? It should almost be the first question we ask. How much more taxpayer money?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I disagree with some of the premises of what you asked, but I would say absolutely they're necessary. Anybody that's been in the homeless shelter knows that it has to be rebuilt. It is past time for being rebuilt. For our library,
Can it be added on right there?
that was an option. And frankly, I pulled the community in to basically come up with a consensus on where to put the new shelter. And that was a very lively discussion. The library is absolutely, it is past, not only past its prime, it is absolutely in need of a complete rebuild.
And it's a regional library.
It's a regional library, and as a matter of fact, it's
I
in
mean,
such
how
bad
does that
shape.
qualify as that need?
It's
Because
in
I was
such-
in there and I thought it was fine.
It's in such bad shape. We had to shut the library down for 2 months earlier this week to basically to stop the roof leaks from coming in and to get the bathrooms so that they basically pass the health department requirement. I mean, it's bad.
Can't put a new roof on, I mean, that's what we do with my house or a bathroom.
Yeah, and
Okay, but the point being is how does it get up to that point that we're spending that money?
both.
But there will be future things that are not decided yet that need to go through this kind of thought process.
Yeah,
This may be decided, but these things maybe should not be decided in the future.
Yeah, and both of those appeared on bonds, and if you don't like the bond referendum, vote against it. But they've been passing overwhelmingly, time and time again. And we're very careful about our finances. We have a AAA bond rating in Fairfax County, but we want to make sure that we do meet our basic community needs. But thank you for your question.
And regarding the library, I agree 100% with Larry. I use the library a lot. I'm an engineer. And the library is a very good location. And instead we take this library to put, I love soccer, you know. I like to play soccer. Like to play soccer in the middle of the access of the restaurant is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the grounds can be changed. Nothing can be done. Sorry. The ground can be changed. Okay, nothing can be done.
Yeah, where's the mic there? And we've had also some folks, I don't know if you had a question. No, okay, all right, never mind.
I can't stand the microphone. I've only used one like 3 times. Can you hear me? Okay, I have spoke to the supervisor's office regarding several human rights issues, including crime victim and witness rights that aren't being upheld by law enforcement, including housing, which has created a humanitarian crisis that the community and the Board of Supervisors is not addressing, while it could address it by law and not by stopgapping. I am raising a new issue today, Supervisor Alcorn, and it is something I am seeing in our businesses and I am seeing in our government. We all know that the technology exists for somebody to hack a password in a phone system or in an email. Now what that means is somebody who can do that can pretend to be an employee of the county who's on vacation for a week, and nobody's going to be the wiser. In our hotlines, which is the main point of access to county services, people are working remotely with nothing but a username and a password. They are becoming call takers. Somebody can hack into that and be a call taker for a day in some very important agencies and interfere with the good work those people want to do. On the other side of that, we have cameras everywhere, including in our school buildings. Now what that sets up is a very risky system in which somebody who has the ability and no moral boundaries can step in and be setting policies, for example, for teachers at a school, watching them on camera, and then pretending to be an authority, calling the school if the teacher doesn't abide by a policy that isn't good for the teacher or the student. Now, on top of that, our county agencies are working behind secure doors, and they don't know each other. I have been on the 7th floor of the Panino building where Adult Protective Services, Child Protective Services, and the people who support victims of domestic and sexual violence all work on the same floor and don't know each other by face. Again, that sets up a situation where somebody who is not actually within the county can become an employee for a week or more, and nobody would be the wiser because we don't have in-person relationships anymore. I am asking the county How are we going to establish real human relationships between county agencies and residents and elected officials so that we can mitigate that risk? And I'm asking the county county supervisor, how the supervisor's office is going to address that risk by policies that are going to protect our county employees and our residents alike.
Okay, thank you for the question. I actually like the human interaction here. I think this is one way that we do that. So, but thank you for your comments. Other questions? Any other comments? A few hands over on this side. And well, Lynn, I think you had.
Sorry, we had it back there for a while.
I will wait.
And we'll go for another 15 minutes or so.
Thank you, Supervisor Alcorn. Mike, a couple of these things I raised before, and with this, one of them I mentioned to you earlier this evening. We've talked about affordable housing. In this community, there are a couple of the affordable for 55 plus. There needs to be a lot more. I'm aware of a number of people who have been struggling greatly on that. So Lake Ann, Hunter's Woods, Cluster House, just not enough on that. But there's nothing that's really in the comprehensive plan that's addressing that. One of those potential areas is close to where I live, which is across from the Herndon TOD, part of the Herndon TSA. That has two parts: Board of Supervisor property, also what used to be the T-Mobile campus. Potentially, that area is about to probably have plans coming later this year and will take to about 2032 to be developed. But with that, there's the underutilization of the Herndon Metro Station that can alleviate some of the problems with Wheelie by making parking either lower cost than the standard rate across the county or simply free to push people in there. Even though I live there, the traffic is kind of heavy. Part of that problem is to address yet on Sunrise Valley eastbound, yet another accident at that wonderful curve. That particular set of homeowners, two properties, have had 8 accidents in the last 30 years, not including roughly a half dozen when there was a guardrail on that. So on the budget side, with that, there has been the project from about 2018 that was partially funded by the county for the bike trailways. I know the federal government got 4.1 million additional money to you. The cost keeps going up. What is the timeline needs to be addressed to actually move forward?
Great question. That last one, the cycle track.
Yes, the cycle track, innovation station, Fairfax County Parkway.
So you're right, it's got a little over 4 million. That's dedicated funding. It's a lot more than that. We just approved this earlier, or last week, we just approved another request to the feds to fund most of the rest of that. So fingers crossed, that we'll actually get that, because that project is really important. It's not only going to provide we call it a grade separated cycle track for bicyclists, but it also will reconfigure the road there, frankly, to slow the traffic down a little bit and to make it safer to walk or bike through there. So that's a really important project.
It's one of the areas that it always has from Sunrise Valley and Monroe, and even through the bad intersection called Sunrise Valley and Fairfax County Parkway. People constantly run those sets of lights.
Yes, thank you.
And with that, that's just one of the other areas. Yeah. With that, I will stop with that.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Yeah, I think he got his hand up right there.
Oh boy, my turn. Walter, I'm here, I have a question, but I also want to
share that I serve as chair of the No Fairfax Casino Coalition. And I want to say that we consider Walter one of our champions. He and Jimmy Bierman have been out front, vocal in opposition to the casino. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. As president of Reston Citizens Association, I have a question about the Fairfax Business Park. That, as you know, I worked on the comprehensive plan and headed up a working group for the land use chapter. And it's good to see Mark Malcolm, wherever, yeah, good to see you. And Gary Maupin was serving on that working group as well. We specifically spent, I think we must have spent a whole month talking about that particular parcel, and we made a determination, thinking forward 60 years, that that should remain as a business center. And I was just wondering if there are any updates that you could give us. And before I get off the casino thing, I do want to let people know that we may be having a bus go down to Richmond on Tuesday for the House meeting, so watch for that.
Thank you, Lynn, and it's worth it to go down there, by the way. It does make a difference. So on the Lake Fairfax Business Park, okay, so I've been a supervisor for 5 years now, and the number of plan amendments that I've approved to increase density, zero. Okay. However, when we went through the Reston Comprehensive Plan update, the understanding all along was that the site-specific plan amendment process would go forward at some point. Now, it was delayed because, frankly, my colleagues took longer than any of us wanted to get through their part of the review of the plan amendment. So this is the SSPA process, or site-specific plan amendment process. And it is going forward. I did, I took the golf course proposals out. Well, Jody knows there's another proposal down, on rerouting of Sunset Hills. Didn't go along with that one. But we are looking at this one, and I'll tell you frankly, the concern I have is there are office buildings in there that are vacant and have been vacant for several years. And somebody earlier mentioned the Sheridan and Tyson's that's vacant, and that's now been vacant going up on 4 or 5 years. And I have a saying, and I think you've all heard me say this, but when an office building is vacant for 6 months, that's a real problem for the property owner. But when an office building is vacant for 6 years, that becomes a community problem. So I really, want to make sure that we don't allow any part of Hunter Mill to basically deteriorate. So that's why I'm at least seeing how it goes and letting that process move forward. But there's still a lot of details that, would need to be worked out. But thank you, ma'am.
I just have a quick comment to make. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you today or tonight and ask our questions. You responded to us, you didn't rush us around, and so I really appreciate that.
I can turn it around. I will. One other thing that Rob had mentioned earlier about the casino not being in the comprehensive plan process. Well, when I was very involved as a planning commissioner in the Tyson's replanning process, 2008 to 2010, and
the Tyson
well,
plan 20 years before.
that's true. But Rob went to, how many meetings did we have? We had about 50 meetings.
I'd say I came to about 50 out of
About, yes, and Rob came to probably the majority of them. Not only is there not a casino reference in the comprehensive plan for Tyson's, it never came up in any meeting, ever. Not one time. Nobody ever brought it up. So anyway, just as an aside.
So I want to thank Lynn and Supervisor Alcorn, all of you for your leadership on the No Fairfax Casino. And I know you all are very well informed about it, but now is the time, as you know, to flood your delegates' inboxes. Thank your delegate that is against it. Flood the inboxes of the other delegates, because we don't even want to get it out of committee. And just flood it now. Now is the crucial time.
And could I make one other suggestion? Tell the governor, just in case, tell the governor.
To veto, if it passes out of the Senate committee, the House committee and gets voted on the floor, then ask Governor Youngkin to veto. Yes.
Thank you.
Ask your friends to contact
Their delegates, yes, definitely. And like Supervisor said, ask the governor to veto it if it does get voted on in the House.
Hunter Mill TAC.
Oh, yes. The Hunter Mill Transportation Advisory Committee, Shamley's back there in the back. It is, we do have a date, I believe. Shamley, when's our Hunter Mill TAC date? Do we have that scheduled? Is that?
I do not have a date scheduled for that. We reschedule even that.
But it'll be in the next couple of months.
But the issue is the overall volume of traffic and build out for Reston.
Yes.
And I don't know whether the county, we've got a new transportation director finally. But the fact is that we need to see the cumulative impact of all these developments, both at Town Center and at Wheelie Avenue, so that we can assess over the next 30 years what can Reston really handle.
Yeah, and for those of you that were around in 2014 and 2013, there was a complete traffic study done and projection of all the future development, all the way through build out, that basically was baked into the transportation plan and the development plan and the comprehensive plan. When we went through the process of updating the comprehensive plan, we increased no density. And as a matter of fact, we actually took a little bit of density out of the plan. So that has been done. It has been done, but I hear you, Rob.
We need to see it. We need to be able to go to the library and look at the plan.
Okay, we'll see, because it was a model. And, but yeah, we'll see what we can get you. But thank you, Rob. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be monitored, or reviewed to make sure that actually it continues to be accurate, because that is a tremendously important balance that we need to keep. So you're right, I appreciate that. Yes.
Quick question. I'm somebody who actually believes that we should be taxed for the benefits that we get. However, I get a $400 bill for the Reston Special Tax District, and that generates about $10 million. Why are we paying $10 million for the community center when community centers are paid for by the county?
Well, the community center is actually paid for out of, the rest of the community center is paid out of the special tax district number 5 proceeds. So, I mean, frankly, it's a choice of the community. There are.
So we could decide that we don't want to pay it.
Well, you elect members of the Reston Community Center board. So, frankly, if we didn't have the Reston Community Center, we'd have to create one. So, I would recommend, going to the annual meeting of the Reston Community Center and, basically articulating concerns and questions.
Forgive me, Walter, but if I could please ask you all to learn a little more about what this man's asking. If you would go to Reston Citizens Association website, rcareston.org, there's a tab that says 411 series. I think many of us in this room remember what 411 used to do. One of the documents in there explains the difference between a recreation center, a rec center, a county rec center, and a recreation center paid for by a small tax district like we have in Reston. Of the 9 districts in Fairfax County, Reston, or the Hunter Mill District, is the only one that does not have a rec center. And it's, so we don't have one. And, It's the history.
Yeah, and I will say, and this came up earlier, I think you mentioned it in terms of the money not being there. For a long time, that's absolutely true. There are 3 other existing county recreation centers that are up for renewal before we would get to Ruston. So it's 20 years, 25 years, yeah, down the road. Unless we can figure out some other way. All right, I think we'll do one more question. John Farrell, you get the last.
What I wanted to share with you is that the casino bill is in front of the gaming subcommittee of general law.
Oh, it is. It was posted.
So what we need to do is, Kathy Smart, our delegate, has been all over this issue. Yeah. And she's against it, but she's not on the committee. So the committee people are, for those, and you can look it up, how to contact them, but I encourage you to call them.
John, is Ruston Association actually going to share this? This is so nice. You're using our money to pay for a lobbyist. It would be so great, instead of taking our time right now, we're not going to sit here and write down those names. Why don't you share that, and we'll put it on our website if you won't put it on yours.
All right.
So, Paul Creasy is the chair of that committee, you can call him. Elizabeth Bennett Parker has been somewhat waffling.
First time he's ever shared information with the community.
And Holly Siegel is from Vienna, she's already come out against it, she's on that committee. David Bulova, who has expressed the skepticism, is on that committee. Call those folks and let them know what you think. I strongly encourage you to get in touch with Delegate Bennett Parker. She's from the Alexandria area.
David Bullock is the record as being against the casino.
Oh, yeah.
He's on the committee,
Yeah.
but he's only one vote.
Yeah.
You just said he's not
All right, let's wrap up. Isn't Reston a great place? I love Reston. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it very much. And I'll be around for a while.